Hey guys, it's Ginny here from City Mystic, and this is the next installation of the City Mystic Paris video diary. And I'm happy to report that things are continually moving forward and going uphill. I mean, it's like the end of March already. I don't know how that happened so quickly. But I mean, right now we're less than a month away from Reader Studio in New York at the end of the month, and or at the end of April, and you know, that's really exciting for us because we get to bring City Mystic New York home for the first time. We haven't been back to New York since we shot the deck early last year in 2014, and we've sold maybe 300 copies now. I've lost count, somewhere around 258 or something. But we're somewhere very close to 300, if not a little over 300 copies now. And that's quite a feat. I mean, for us, we thought it was ambitious to go for 1,000 copies. We thought we'd be like selling them for the next 5 years. And maybe we will be, but I mean, we're two parents in Sacramento, California, that just really wanted to make something creative. So to have the opportunity to have made that, produced it, and then shipped it to all these really special people around the world is really cool for us. And getting the opportunity to bring it back to New York is just like, it's just another level of gratification, and we're just like so humbly excited and thankful to get to go to things like the Reader Studio, and they've been so kind and generous to us, and they've helped us, you know, figure out how to get there, and extended an invitation and allowed us to exchange volunteer work for attendance and things, and they've just been like super open to having us and giving us the opportunity to share the deck, and to give a talk on the deck while we're there. So we're like beyond excited with that. And then with Paris, I'm still waiting on, I put in the film to develop from the SF shoot just for test shots and such last week. It was maybe 8 days ago now, and I forgot how long film takes to get back. So I'm still waiting to get a call back from my local film processing studio, because I'm not ready to do it myself just yet. We still got to figure out how to pay for all these dark room and chemical and supply fees. So for now, just checking and seeing how the camera's gonna fare, and you know, what's gonna happen with the cameras that I have. So while I'm waiting for film and to see what's going on with that, I've been really thinking a lot about what we're going to do with this deck, and what we're going to do, keep the same, and what we want to do a little differently. And so we got a lot of great feedback on City Mystic New York, and I think some people really loved the court cards and some people really hated the court cards. So the court cards in City Mystic New York, the concept is taking, this deck is so Kabbalistic, okay? So that's the first kind of asterisk to City Mystic New York. It's very much based on Kabbalism, and the reason, of course, is because New York is very heady Kabbalism that's built into the infrastructure and the architecture. And of course, that's what City Mystic is all about. It's about reading the vibe of a city, it's about catching that travel bug, and it's about finding the occult symbolism hidden in plain sight by people who are very wealthy and very powerful. And the ultimate goal is to kind of inspire people to take more notice and to take more charge of our own use of magic, whether it's with the occult, or whether it's with intention setting, or it's with I don't know, mandala work or meditation. It's about believing that what you want to see most happen in your life, and what you feel is your purpose or you feel is your aim, can be true. And you know, I don't know, there's a lot to say in that, so I'll just put the brakes on there and leave it there. So with that, New York is a very heady city. It's a very ambitious city. It's a very intellectual city. And the symbolism that we found there was very intellectual as well. So the thinking with the court cards was to take a symbol, like for instance with the cups, to take a glass from its really kind of least refined state, its most simplistic form, and then show this sort of very refined, you know, wine glass as the king. So we go from the page to the king, and we get a little bit more refinement as we go through. The same is true for pentacles. We use symbols that we found on gates and on doorways, and, you know, actual symbolism to illustrate the point that the court cards have a relationship to one another, and we can identify and learn more about them through their relationships within the suit, and then through their relationships to each other in different suits. So some people really loved them. Of course, I'm totally biased, but personally, these cards really floated my boat. Like, they're some of my favorite images in the deck because they're so striking and so simple and so clean. Some people don't really like that. Some people want something that's a scene and something that's more Rider-Waite-esque, and I get that. I totally get that because I do love the Rider-Waite deck, and obviously we fashioned City Mystic New York after the Rider-Waite deck. But for Paris, all of that is to say that for Paris, I want to do things a little differently. I'm ready to break away from Rider-Waite and to not be so tied to it, and I don't exactly even know what that means just yet. I feel like the process of making these decks is really magical for us, and it becomes this channeling thing. It's really hard to describe, but it's not like when we make cards and when we do the shoot and when we put it all together, it's not like we're like, oh, we got to hit this point and this point and this point. It's like, does this image or does this card feel like a Nine of Wands or a King of Cups or a High Priestess? You know, does this card feel like the energy of what I and we understand this energy is? And so it's cool to kind of work that way, but it means I don't really know exactly how it's going to be different with Paris. I just know that the mindset I'm going in with is loosened up from the Kabbalistic thinking so strictly. Paris is just, it's 2,000 years old, and it's full of so many revolutions of time and energy and cultures, and it's seen so much. So there's going to be a lot that we have to try and get into this deck, and we're going to have so many extra shots that we have some plans actually to use, and maybe we might do some flex goals with Kickstarter for some additional awesomeness with that. We'll see what we get. Let's not put the cart before the horse, right? But we have some thoughts for how we're going to make the most of this trip and all these shots and this really interesting history and cultural iconoclasm. So one thing I just know going in with Paris, right now I'm spending a lot of time with Rick Steves and all of his audio tours and his audiobooks and his books and his videos and a lot of other books too, like The Gardens of Paris, and just really kind of taking stock. I mean, I know what I felt when I was in Paris, but there's so much to catch. I'd hate to miss an opportunity. So right now I'm really keeping myself busy and enthusiastic with the study of French culture and particularly Parisian culture, and what are those iconic statues, because something that might mean a lot to me might not be that significant in the history of Paris and vice versa. So we want to kind of hit the important points and make sure we bring those in, and this deck is really going to be about doing our best to capture that magic and romance and just like passion for life. Like the first time I went to Paris and was really inspired to do this, I've written about it before, but it was like this life-changing thing. It was a few months after I had a very scary near-death experience. I had gallstones packed in my gallbladder, and they were blocking the bile duct to my liver, and they'd been there so long that it was starting to develop gangrene, which was very close to my liver. So I had emergency surgery and had a lot of really strange, interesting spiritual experiences through that, and then a few months later really decided, like, I can't die without doing some very important things in my life. So one of those things was, I remember when I was in like 4th grade, I wanted to go to Paris when I was a little girl, and that summer between 4th and 5th grade, I rented Learn French audio cassette tapes from my local library and spent the whole summer trying to learn French, and I never really did, but I was in love with it and I was passionate about it, and that passion never really left me. And I don't really have a reason for why. It's not like I was influenced by my family or my environment. I certainly didn't grow up with, you know, extravagant French trips going on around me. I grew up in the ghetto, you know, around like working class families and people who were struggling and people who didn't go to Europe. So for me, it's like this personal captivation with the idea of being able to travel even if you are from working class America, or even if you don't feel like a global citizen necessarily. And so I want that inspiration, like when I went to Paris, hearing French being spoken, seeing couples in their 40s just being in love and making out on the street, and people with class and dignity being in love and being okay with being affectionate, and passion, people dancing, people enjoying the holy hell out of their food and their conversations and their wine. Like, you go out to eat in Paris and it's not just to go out to eat and watch everybody stare at each other blankly. It's like you see so much life coming to the table, and people hang out and they're there for like 2-3 hours just enjoying their time and enjoying their surroundings. And I really value that. That's not something we have too much of here in American culture, and I'm really looking forward to experiencing it again. But I also want to put that essence in the deck. Like, yeah, it'll just be caught in the shots, and I think that it's really fortuitous for us that we're going in May, because we have a good chance at catching, you know, fresh blossoms on trees and that springtime vibe and the spring light in the sky and the clouds. Nothing comes close to the clouds in Paris. It's crazy. And we'll also get some of the dancing on the riverside. There's all kinds of dancing festivals in May and June in Paris. The whole city is just alive with creativity and joy. So I'm really looking to capture that magic first and foremost, and then the underpinnings of that magic, the passion of magic, the passion of manipulating and swaying culture, particularly with the French Revolution and the ways that the Jacobins were able to manipulate a whole sea of people with ideas like humanism and philosophical debates about God and theology. All of this information, as soon as it became available to just under the royal class, or like the highest echelon of society, then it started to be trickled out and utilized by the next sort of tier down, if you will, of people. And that changed an entire nation. I mean, overnight, over the course of like 10 years, France went from being this royally ruled country to being this very scary republic with the terror going on and people being beheaded in the streets for showing royal loyalty and things like this. So there's just France and Paris particularly kind of express this incredible passion to me, and as a passionate person, that's a language that I speak. So I'm really wanting to captivate, first and foremost, the passion of the people and the history of Paris in City Mystic Paris, whereas City Mystic New York was really about occult, headiness, design, structure, kind of vibes. So I've rambled long enough about it, but I don't have any shots to show you yet. I probably will next time, but I just wanted to touch on that a bit and talk about the contrasts between New York and Paris. And you know, New York will probably always be just something that I'm thoroughly in love with because it's our first deck, and it's like amazing to me that we actually got it done. We didn't kill each other. We got it produced, we got it printed, and we got it in front of people who appreciate what we're going for. So New York is a special kind of magic for me, but I'm really looking forward to Paris and the vibe that this deck is going to take on. So with that, I've got to go record card of the day videos, and thanks for following along the journey, and I'll see you next time, hopefully with some test shots from San Francisco with film for getting ready for City Mystic Paris. Alright guys, take good care. Bye.